Giulietto Chiesa per pandoratv.it. L'intervista che seguirà tra pochi minuti ha per protagonista Ray McGovern, un ex analista della CIA con 27 anni di carriera, cominciata con John Kennedy e terminata con George Bush in aperta polemica per l'uso che l'allora Presidente degli Stati Uniti fece dell'intelligence americana, forzandone e deformandone e falsificandone le ricerche. Per questa ragione Ray McGovern ha fondato un centro che si chiama il Veteran Intelligence Professional for Sanity, che vuol dire sostanzialmente veterani professionisti dell'intelligenza per il buon senso, sanity in questo senso tradotto molto bene, per il buon senso, per la ragione, per la ragionevolezza. La sua funzione è facilmente spiegabile con il fatto che Ray McGovern era incaricato di svolgere, e lo è stato per lunghi anni, il briefing mattinale, si potrebbe dire, alla Casa Bianca, nello studio ovale, di fronte al Presidente degli Stati Uniti, al Vicepresidente, al Segretario per la Sicurezza Nazionale, al Segretario per la Difesa, al Capo degli Stati Maggiori riuniti delle Forze Armate Americane e così via, cioè ai più alti livelli della politica americana. Questa è la riflessione che insieme a lui abbiamo fatto sul futuro della politica estera e interna americana dopo l'elezione di Donald Trump e anche un po' sulla nuova America che ci troviamo di fronte. Quindi vi offriamo un punto di vista meditato di persona che non solo conosce bene dall'interno i servizi segreti americani e la struttura dell'amministrazione, ma conosce anche abbastanza bene, evidentemente, i problemi americani, della società americana e del suo rapporto con il resto del mondo. Vi proponiamo quindi questa riflessione ad alto livello, in esclusiva per pandoratv.it. Prima di tutto, signor McGovern, vorrei chiederle, lei ritiene che Donald Trump potrà passare indenne attraverso la riunione dei grandi elettori del collegio elettorale, cioè a dire la sua marcia verso il primo mandato è ancora in discussione o no?
Actually, I think it's highly unlikely that he will be deprived of the presidency, even if, say, 2 or 3 of those states in which recounts are happening, even if they flipped, it would be very difficult for him to be denied the number of votes in the Electoral College that he needs to have. So I think it's a good thing that the machines are being checked. These machines are notoriously corruptible, notoriously fixable, and so it's good to do that. But whether it will change the election results, I doubt it very seriously. But again, I'm not an expert on internal U.S. affairs.
Okay, but there are precedent moment in which a president-elect was deprived of.
Yes, those were historical incidents going back many years, some century or more. And those were special political situations where a trade-off was made. It had nothing to do with technical difficulties like now.
Okay.
Donald Trump si è presentato agli elettori come un outsider sostanzialmente, come uno che non faceva parte della elite bipartisan tradizionale. È così? È vero? O è stata una grande sceneggiata?
I believe that time will tell, and fairly shortly, whether he's his own man, as we say, whether he can really act independently. Mm-hmm. There are huge obstacles in Washington before he can achieve that. Now, much will depend on whom he picks for Secretary of State. This is a pending decision that has not yet been made. But that will indicate whether he means to follow through on an opening to Russia, an opening to the east, a lessening of tension, perhaps a fresh look at Syria, a fresh look at Ukraine, and we'll know that soon enough. Right now, the indications are not so good. The people that he's already picked for defense and for his assistant for national security affairs are not people that progressives would have picked for sure. And he's also tapped into people well clued in on what Wall Street is thinking and what Wall Street wants. So the rhetoric is one thing. We'll have to see what he does in action. And I'm from, as we say, from Missouri. You have to show me what he does in terms of his first few weeks. And that, of course, is still 2 months away.
Una elezione, quella di Donald Trump, che è stata una sorpresa per tutti. Perlomeno per la gran parte degli osservatori politici, dei commentatori, dell'elite politica americana e occidentale. Uno dei risultati di questa sorpresa è stata che è emersa una America diversa da quella che tutti noi credevamo di conoscere, anche perché il mainstream media dell'Occidente ci ha raccontato una storia che evidentemente non era vera. Lei ci può dire qual è il suo punto di vista intorno a questa America che noi ci troviamo ora di fronte, noi, tutto il mondo, noi, l'Europa, la Russia, la Cina, eccetera. Mi piacerebbe sapere la sua visione di questa America.
Well, it's not the America of the traditional establishment. Now, the traditional establishment operates in a cocoon. The media, the government, the Wall Street types, they all talk to one another. And they don't go outside the cocoon and see what the people in the street are thinking. And so they had this arrogance, this hubris, this confidence that surely Hillary will win because Trump is crazy. Now, that turned out not to be true. So what does that mean? Well, it doesn't mean that Trump was crazy. It means that he had better contact. He had better feel for the voters. Now, the sentiment into which he tapped is not the best of America. It's vengeance is ours, says America. That's not the way the Bible reads. I think it says vengeance is mine, says the Lord. But no. Vengeance. Ever since 9/11, American people have been, number one, vengeful, number two, scared. And the establishment has stoked these fires. And so what Trump is appealing to is partly that and partly the fact that the people who voted for him felt neglected, felt ignored by the establishment in the cocoon, and they were absolutely right in thinking that. Many of their jobs have gone overseas. He appealed to a segment of middle class that was very, very angry with the way they had been treated by this establishment in the cocoon. So everyone was surprised that, whoops, the cocoon got pierced, and now we're going to have a new president who's not part of the traditional establishment. Whether he can work his own will, whether he can be his own man and rule without the establishment, that's a major challenge. Most people have not been able to do that. Jimmy Carter tried to do that. He couldn't do it. Okay, he thought he could run the country with a bunch of folks from Georgia, from the state of Georgia. He couldn't. Okay, you have to have some ways to influence the powers that be, and I'm talking Wall Street, I'm talking defense. Now, Trump, I think, wants to do that. Trump wants to do a more sensible Ostpolitik, a more sensible outreach to Eastern Europe and Russia, actually. And I think he can do that because he has a willing partner in Vladimir Putin, who is not the devil incarnate that the establishment has painted him as, but he's somebody who repeatedly says, I'm willing to deal. And now, finally, in the White House, we have somebody who is famous for making deals. So we'll have to see about that. That's the silver lining that I see in this election. What's happening domestically, the appeal to sexism, to racism, to all the basest instincts of our country is just abhorrent to me. But that has to do with internal politics. If, as I believe to be the case, the chances of a nuclear war are less now than they would have been under Hillary Clinton, well, that's not a small thing. That's very big. That's what I tend to focus on when I speak in foreign countries like this one. Elections are won and lost on the economy, how people are doing, whether they have jobs. Now, ironically, the jobless rate has gone down to levels that it hasn't had in over a decade. But people are still out of work. People are working 2 jobs. And people are feeling neglected. They don't like what little government does, and they are just feeling as though they don't matter. And that's what Trump tapped into. Now, what scares me domestically is that we have a situation not unlike the situation after the Reichstagsbrand, the burning of the Reichstag in 1933, which was blamed on communists and which Hitler exploited to not only to gain power, but to impose a dictatorship that had no respect for human rights. What we have now is a situation where after 9/11, a similar reaction has taken place. The simple people have been scared, and they have been persuaded that the Constitution of the United States has to take a back seat to new laws. The Germans call them emergency laws. We call them Patriot Act and other laws that infringe on our Constitution. Now, can there be laws that are unconstitutional? There sure can be. The problem is it takes years and years, if ever, for the courts to catch up with the laws and say, whoops, wait a second, these laws are unconstitutional. What's the problem with that? A lot of people sit in jail for all those years, unfairly judged, unfairly sentenced under these illegal laws. For example, when I go back to Washington, it is within the power of the President, Obama, or anyone else, or the Secretary of Defense, to have the border authorities arrest me and take me off without any jury trial, without any judge interfering, without any due process, and put me in a place like Guantanamo. Now, for how long? Does habeas corpus come in here? Well, no, it doesn't. They can keep me in jail without appearing in court or without any habeas corpus rights. Not forever, mind you, but just until the law states, just until the end of the war on terror. Now, has that law been enforced yet? No, but it's on the books. Okay? So it would be completely legal for the immigration authorities to stop me and say, McGovern, you said some bad things about your country, and you are encouraging terrorists. And so we're going to put you away for a while. Not forever, of course, just until the end of the war on terror. Now, I make sort of fun of that, but this is deadly. This is dead serious. It's on the books, and it's already having a deterrent effect on what people say and what they do. Now, I'm 77 years old. You know, I've had a terrific life. I mean, if they do that to me, I won't like it. But at least I'm toward the end of my stay here on this planet. What about the young people? They've got to worry about their job. They've got to worry about college and so forth. Are they going to step outside these bounds and criticize the government and then get detained and maybe even put in jail without due process? Now, the Fifth Amendment of our Constitution says that no one shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process. Well, what about the alleged terrorists that the president orders killed in Afghanistan, Pakistan? Some of those are American citizens. Oh, so how can they be deprived of life without due process. Now, due process has always meant the involvement of the courts. But Obama's Attorney General Holder said, no, it doesn't say courts here. It just says no one shall be deprived of life without due process. We do the due process. We do the due process right here in the White House. Thank you very much. We don't need the courts. Now, he said that before a very fancy law school, Northwestern University, and all the law students were writing this down. Oh, a new interpretation of the Fifth Amendment. So they don't have to go to court. They can just say, oh, we'll do the process right here in the White House. Thank you very much. And that's what's happening. You see? That's illegal. That's unconstitutional. And yet there's a law that permits that. If you look at the emergency legislation introduced after the Reichstagsbrand, after the burning of the Reichstag in Berlin, you see the same kinds of provisions where they had a constitution in Germany at that point. Yeah. They were illegal. They were made legal in quotes, but they were crosswise. They were exactly opposite to what their constitution also says. So that's a very scary thing. And the real sad thing here is that the legal profession in our country is a huge disappointment. They approve torture. Now, granted, it was a handful of lawyers that approved torture. But who holds these lawyers accountable? Where are the other lawyers? Where are the other lawyers? Well, there's no way to hold these people accountable. And there's a lot of reluctance to, because you might not get the next lucrative contract to pursue a legal act if you appear as a troublemaker. So when you talk about lawyers and their devotion to the law, there has been no holding to account the torture lawyers. Even psychologists who were badly used by the Bush administration. Do you remember when George Bush says, now, we're sure these people aren't being tortured because we have psychologists there right on the team that's doing the interrogation. Right. They let themselves be corrupted, but the American Psychological Association held them accountable, got rid of them. See, psychologists don't do this. Psychologists are bound by the same Hippocratic oath that doctors are, do no harm. So, and we intelligence analysts, we knew, even before the war in Iraq, that our former colleagues were fabricating, were imagining, were digging up evidence of weapons of mass destruction and ties between Al-Qaeda and Saddam Hussein. They were making it out of whole cloth. We knew that, and we reported on that. But the president wanted to have his war, and so he did, and the press paid us no attention. Now, what's my point there? Well, we formed a professional association to hold our colleagues accountable. It's called Veteran Intelligence Professionals for Sanity, and if we can do it, surely the lawyers can do it. Surely the psychologists have already done it, but nobody touches the lawyers. They are, in effect, held innocent of any misdoing. And I think that my father, who taught law school for 30 years in New York, that I rather think it's good that he passed away just before this all happened, because he loved the law. He loved it. And many good lawyers love the law, but very few these days have the courage to stand up and say, that's unconstitutional. The president cannot do that, no matter how many powers the president claims to have.
Ci sono 2 o 3 problemi che interessano ovviamente l'opinione pubblica di tutto l'Occidente e quella italiana in particolare. Anzi, sono alcune domande. Io le riassumerei così. Donald Trump ha la conoscenza sufficiente per affrontare le questioni di cui abbiamo parlato fino ad ora? Secondo, ha la volontà di affrontarle? E terzo, ha la possibilità di affrontarle? Sono 3 questioni che rimangono aperte e che concernono sostanzialmente tutto ciò che questo Presidente dovrà fare e in politica interna e in politica internazionale verso la Russia, verso la Cina, verso Israele, verso il Medio Oriente, eccetera, eccetera. In poche parole, quali saranno le condizioni che potrebbero costituire la novità, ma non è ancora affatto sicuro che saranno in grado di rappresentare una vera novità.
Well, the key will be how strong he plans to be in his first months. Uniquely, he has disparaged, criticized, accused the media, and rightfully so, of gross distortions. When Hillary Clinton called Vladimir Putin Hitler, that's the worst possible thing you could call any Russian leader, especially a Russian leader that already enjoys 82% approval rate. Why did she do that? Well, I don't know, but it was a very, very bad move. There are other things that have happened. Gratuitous slights, the president saying, well, Russia, it's just a regional power. Or Russia, well, you know, they don't produce anything, you know. And as though Russia was a second-rate nation. Now, I believe that Trump wants to improve relations with Russia. I think he sees that there is a congruence of interest, for example, in Syria, and also in Ukraine, where there is no real basic impediment for us to getting together and talking like we used to back decades ago, and figuring it out and doing the right thing. I think he wants to do that. I think he knows that that's what needs to be done. Can he do it?
Okay.
I think he can, yeah. But what's going to take is a frontal assault on the New York Times and the Washington Post and to say, you've been lying to us. You haven't even reported the reason for all the trouble in Europe, and that is the coup d'etat, the putsch that we, America, arranged on the 22nd of February 2014 on Russia's doorstep. That's what started it, not the next day. We have had our NATO ambassador saying, modern history begins on the 23rd of February when the Russians started to seize Crimea. Okay? Well, wow. Doesn't he know what happened on the 22nd? And our press is like that. So what I'm saying is that Trump's got to say, look, you American people, you can be forgiven for being so ignorant because these media muggles, these people who have been controlling the story, they've been lying to you. And I'll show you, because I'm going to work out a deal with Putin. And he has already, and this is what I predicted yesterday, he has already pulled some Russian troops back, so we're going to pull some NATO troops back, okay? Now, if he does that, everybody's going to get religion, as we say. They're going to say, whoa, this guy is serious. And the Europeans, are going to have to say, whoa, what is this? There's good news and there's bad news. The bad news is that we're supposed to raise our level of investment in defense. We don't want to do that. We got enough problems. Right? But the good news is people are going to ask, why? What is the threat from Russia? And we're going to start reading in the United States press that, well, it's been exaggerated 10 times. And it's mostly a reaction to what we did in doing a coup on Russia's doorstep in February 2 years ago, 2014. Now, once they understand that, there'll be a kind of a relief and say, well, okay, we don't have to raise our defense expression. Let's talk to the Russians instead. Maybe they'll decrease their defense inspection. So it's very simple. It's just that when you're working with a populace that has been malnourished, really, on accurate information, you have to nourish them first, and then Trump could do that because he has shown a unique antipathy toward the mainstream press. They have reciprocated, but once he's president, there are so many little things that the president has to do to give the press, to get the press to come along, that if my guess is correct, the mainstream press will just fall right into line. Oh, yeah, well, we don't really think Russia is so much of a threat anymore. And Putin, Well, he's talking to our president now, so maybe it was not so bad. So my point is simply that it's a big hurdle because the press is controlled by the same mega corporations that are making a lot of money on arms manufacture and arms trading.